Stefan Thomas had over 7,000 Bitcoin in his digital wallet and lost it all because he forgot his password.
Wow.
So how much money did he exactly lose by forgetting his password? Well, let's do a little math here. He had over 7,000 Bitcoin in his digital wallet, and the price of Bitcoin as of today is over $68,000. So that means his Bitcoin today would be worth a whopping $476 million. Wow.
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 This guy lost $476 million worth of Bitcoin because he lost his password. Now, first off, that is absolutely insane. That is an epic fail, and that's completely devastating if you're this guy. But let's see what we can learn from this story. There are two sides to this. First off, you want to feel bad for this guy because that's a truly traumatic thing to go through, and it doesn't seem like he really did anything wrong. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. He just forgot his password, like we all do sometimes. But then on the other hand, it's just something so simple that all you had to do was just remember your password and keep it somewhere safe, and you would have $476 million. My gosh, you had one job to remember your password and get that back. Making a password for your digital wallet is nothing like making a password for, say, your Facebook account or your Gmail account, because you'll never get to change it. You don't have any option to change it. Whatever his reason was for forgetting this password doesn't really matter at this point, as what really matters is the fact that he lost out on $476 million, something that could have changed his life and probably changed the entire world. What really matters now is that he isn't able to cash in on this life-changing sum of money and help his life and help others' lives as well. Here's a new conscious money school rule. If you create a password for something having to do with money, potentially a life-changing sum of money, then write it down. Write it down once. Write it down twice. Write it down 3 times. Do what you can to get that password stuck in your mind. It's 100% worth the extra 20 to 30 minutes of writing this down a couple times and memorizing it if it could potentially save you $476 million down the road. Now, nobody ever thinks it's going to get to the point where it's worth that much money, but you really never know with things like this. Sure, you could just say this guy got unlucky and that this rarely ever happens, but apparently this is not an isolated incident. This actually happens way more than you think, and that's both funny and extremely sad at the same time. There have been many reports of people who have forgotten their passwords to their digital wallets and haven't been able to claim a lot of money in Bitcoin. How costly have these losses been? It's impossible to know for certain the exact amount of these losses, but experts estimate that it's over $140 billion.
Wow.
Over $140 billion worth of Bitcoin may be lost forever due to people forgetting their passwords. So this isn't an isolated incident. This is happening over and over and over again. So what we can learn from this is that we need to remember our passwords.
We need to remember our passwords.
We need to remember our passwords.
This is a crazy concept for anyone to wrap your mind around, that remembering your password could potentially make you millions of dollars. So this is not an isolated incident. This happens so often that not only did one guy potentially miss out on $476 million, but people as a collective of losing their passwords have missed out on $140 billion. Think about how this $140 billion that's just lost forever could have been used to change people's lives for the better. It could have been used to solve a lot of people's survival stress about money. I'm sure most of the people who lost their passwords didn't lose as much as $476 million, but I'm sure many of them lost in the millions. I wonder how exactly someone copes with a financial loss like this. Such a large financial loss, but also it was money that they didn't actually have in the first place. I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with him sometime about this and see how his perspective on money and life have changed since this happened. Or just having a conversation with anyone who has lost a large sum of money of Bitcoin due to losing the password to their digital wallet. How you bounce back from an epic fail like this says a lot about you as a person, says a lot about your strength, says a lot about your resilience to keep going and keep moving forward because you know things will get better. I think many of us can learn a lot of valuable lessons from a simple story like this. We can learn from other people's mistakes so we don't have to make the same mistakes, and maybe if we're in the same situation next time, we can keep the $476 million. We won't lose it because we will have written down our passwords, not just once, not just twice, but 3 times.
3 times.
This past 10 years must have been an absolute roller coaster ride for this guy. This is kind of like the equivalent of buying a lottery ticket and winning, and then before you go to cash it out, you found out that you actually lost it and you didn't actually win the $300 million jackpot.
Wow.
Because you lost the ticket. You lost the password. It's the same thing, really. How much financial stress would you have if you lost $476 million because you forgot the password to your account? I know I would have a lot. That would probably keep me up for a while, but then I guess you'd probably get over it and make peace with it over time. Time heals all. Time heals wounds. Let me know what you think about this story. What are some lessons we can all learn from this? A man loses $476 million in Bitcoin because he forgot his password.
Wow.
And people have lost over $140 billion in total in Bitcoin because they forgot their passwords.
Wow.
Moral of the story, when it has to do with money, write your password down multiple times and memorize it. Memorize it. Yeah.